This is the real Star Trek Into Darkness movie review. And when I say the real, that means if you don't like spoilers, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you've been under a rock, this is the time you exit this video because we gonna speak the real. This is why I waited to do this movie review. Had I did this movie review, they would have lost $20 million of their earnings. No, it's not that bad. It is. I wish it was more the way the preview had it set up for you to believe, but it is not. Star Trek Into Darkness starts off with politics. Just like every other movie, all the movies have to go dark now. So what way to go than politics? Everybody's a politician. Now it starts off bad. The starting of this movie is terrible because they start off where the Enterprise is doing this mission, that was no problem with the mission. It's the results after the mission. And it's like take you all the way back to the beginning. It's like in the first Star Wars that they filmed, you saw Chris Pine character, be immature, then grow up at the end. Here, in the start of this movie, he's immature again. And he's making irresponsible decisions. Him and, what's his name, Spock is fighting again. Zachary Quinto, he owned this movie. I mean, look, those two fighting each other all over again meant absolutely nothing. It's like we haven't gained anything. We're right back to the beginning of the first movie again. So here we go. Stuck on this path. The superior wants to strip him. And now he's not the captain no more. The old captain's back in charge. I'm like, we just saw this in the first movie. The movie, basically, they could have cut all that out and went to the straight Khan is back and this and that. We need to see the growth already. We saw him being mature, then grow up. Why are we doing this again? We saw him war with Spock over how they were gonna, like, the command and understanding each other and give and take, the yin and yang, and how they worked together and found peace and serenity in the first one. Now they're back to doing all of this all over again. And in the middle of it, you dragging out through this chase, and this guy who you don't know at this time is just wreaking havoc on the Starfleet Enterprise. So Starfleet is being destroyed. People don't know what's going on. Then all of a sudden, this person turns out to be Khan. And then the missiles have the frozen bodies in them. And that's all cool. And that's fine. But it was just too much of things not being proper. We could have gone without the suspense of the captain was really the bad guy, and now you kind of feel sympathy for Khan. Now you look at his plight like, man, he's not really a bad guy. He got screwed. If you're looking at it from the story standpoint, because the cricket guy was the captain who revived him to make all these ships and stuff. And I'm like, man, did technology really die down that much to where this guy who's been gone for 300 years is still smarter than the people 300 years in the future? He just comes right out of the coma. He knows everything about the technology, and he's building more advanced stuff for the universe, even though he knows nothing about that has passed him by centuries. And now I'm like, wow. And it's amazing that, like they said, they haven't used cryo freeze in over 300 years, and they haven't evolved enough to where they would have a radiation suit on board. And I'll get back to that point, because this is when the movies start going in the direction where I didn't like it. The scenes that I loved, Khan, when he was down there going at it with the Klingons, taking the war. We needed more Khan in this movie. It was not enough Khan being the guy in charge, taking things down and doing what he was supposed to do. We needed more of that. And we didn't get it. We got a sample of what Khan could be, and we know how ruthless and savage he is when he's in Khan mode, and I loved it. This character is Khan. He did a great job of playing Khan, but the movie in itself, too much lag time, too much politics, too much being led in the wrong direction for no reason. We didn't need RoboCop in there. We didn't need him showing up in the ship. We don't need him being involved at all so Khan can get the ship and then he could turn it on the Enterprise. The little dialogue back and forth, that was interesting, but you really didn't need all of that. And this is what my point is when they try to tie in the Wrath of Khan. You know, this is pretty much a prequel to the Wrath of Khan. You could pretty much say that. Because they're back in cryo sleep. They could probably get isolated by Kirk on an island for about 15 some odd years before they break out and live a civilization on this planet until the what's-his-name go down and Kirk don't check on them and don't care. That could happen. But to sit up there and tell me that Kirk had no radiation suits on a ship like that, where you got a room that's full of radiation, they have no radiation suits, they got a medical bay, they got all these things set up, but there's no radiation suits? Come on, let's be serious about that. No radiation suits? So he just goes in there without a radiation suit, goes in there, and anybody who didn't see this coming, don't go to the movies. I mean, come on. I mean, you have to know. Going into a Star Trek movie, the guy's going in a radiation room. You've seen, you know this guy's Khan, so you know Wrath of Khan. Then he goes into a radiation room. Then you should know Spock is going to be on the other side of that glass. And if you didn't know that, you should not be watching movies anymore. And this isn't like Sixth Sense stuff. This is like elementary laid out. If you didn't know they were going to use Khan blood to bring back Kirk when Kirk dies on the other side of the glass, you have not been watching movies long to pay attention. The moment they use Khan's blood on that little thing, I said, okay, they're going to revive Spock or revive somebody else using that blood. That's when I knew. You should have known, like most of the audience knew, that they were going to use the blood the moment he passed away. So nobody was fooled. And the fight at the end with Spock and Khan, all of that was excellent. Excellent. The way they did the whole scene down there, perfect. Because only a Vulcan would have the strength to be able to fight with Khan. And him using his Vulcan technique, it was perfect. All the fans, nobody, that saved pretty much the movie to say it's an okay movie. I like it, it was good. So we can go from there. The overall review is, I give it 3 stars out of 4. It's a good movie. But it's just not what everybody's making it out to be. Deuces.